Can I start when... Good morning, yogis. Bear with me. We are having, a tiny technical issue, but you know how nothing is ever perfect. But as yogis, we embrace nothing is ever perfect, and we work with what we have. So in the meantime, please sit or kneel comfortably. If you'd like to close your eyes, and we're just going to breathe. Okay, I think we're online. Okay, technical issue resolved. That was quick, no time to breathe. So I am Beth, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this Yoga for Beginners 30 minutes class. And welcome to our Instagram friends. This is our first community class, and I am so glad and honored to be the one teaching it. If you're new to yoga, if you're not new to yoga, this is always a great class for you to follow because we'll talk a lot about the basics. We'll be moving. But we'll talk about basics, and it's always a good idea to go back to basics. And we're going to start with how to sit. A lot of yoga teachers will ask you to find a comfortable seated position, and that means that you need to sit with a long spine. So I have 2 bricks, a block, and a belt. You don't need to have all this stuff. Encyclopedia-sized books, good subs for the bricks. Pillows in some cases or cushions work just as fine. And a sub for the belt might be a non-elasticated belt. So a dressing gown belt, a robe belt, they work perfectly. Or like a cotton jeans belt also works perfectly, as long as they're non-elastic. Now, to find a comfortable seat, a lot of you will sit cross-legged. That is fine. However, if your knees are really high up of your hips, it might be a little taxing on the joints. So you might want to sit on a low cushion or a higher cushion or brick, and maybe like kind of just on the edge of it so that you can flop the knees level or lower than the hips. This is one way to sit. Another way I really like to sit is cross-legged. I stack 2 bricks lengthwise between heels, and I sit like this. This is my way to sit. This is always how I sit. I find it super comfortable. Now, please stay on your sit bones and avoid the arching or the rounding of the back. Neutral spine, chin parallel, top of the head to the ceiling. Rest your hands in any comfortable place. Close your eyes if that's okay. And if it isn't, and the teachers tell you to close your eyes, never feel like you have to. You can lower your gaze to the floor. Always, always up to you. And on that note, the practice of yoga is, amongst other things, a practice of kindness towards yourself and others. And that implies that during the practice, you must respect your limits, challenge your limits, but respect your limits so that no matter what the teachers tell you to do, you make the decision. So if anything that we do doesn't feel right in this class or any other class, don't do it. Try to stay within the general shape of the pose, but modify the pose as it feels right for you. Move deliberately and slowly into the poses so that you can find when you've reached your limit and stay there. Inhale strongly by nose. Exhale everything out by mouth. Again, inhale. Everything out by mouth. Inhale. Everything out by mouth. Okay, now we're going to talk very briefly about Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi means victorious breath, and it is a practice of breathing in and out by nose, which you can take or not. In Vinyasa, unless we're doing specific breathing practices, we always ask that you breathe in and out by nose. And I'm just going to talk to you super briefly about Ujjayi. Try it with me. Inhale by nose. Now imagine you are going to steam up the bathroom mirror to clean it. Exhale by mouth. Steam up the mirror. Inhale by nose. Exhale by mouth. Steam up the mirror. Notice the sensation in the throat. Keep going. There's an engagement of your throat. Now, can you close your mouth? Inhale by nose. Exhale with the same sensation in your throat by nose. Do this a few times. And now inhale with the same sensation in your throat. Don't worry if you feel like you are sniffing a little bit or making weird sounds. It's okay. It takes practice. And eventually you might sound like the ocean as you engage the throat muscles just enough without forcing. If you have an intention, please set it now. And when we say that, we mean that you can set the intention to be, may I be more patient? May I work on kindness? Or maybe you would like to offer your practice to anyone that needs some love and energy. Keep them in your heart, keep them in your mind. Take your time now to please open your eyes and make your way onto all fours. We're doing some cat-cows. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders, a little bit wider than your shoulders maybe, if that's okay. It's up to you. Open the fingers, grip the floor with your fingers, and push the floor away with your palms. This is a big deal. Any time that you're weight bearing on your hands like we are now, your palms have to be flat, your fingers open, and your arms activated by gripping with your fingertips and pushing down with the palms. I like to tuck my toes when we do cat-cow. I warm up my feet. So inhale, lift the chest, take your shoulders away from your ears, lift your hips, lift your chin slightly and look up. This is cow pose. Untuck your toes, exhale by nose, always chin to throat. Round your back, this is cat pose. Inhale. Exhale. In vinyasa, we ask you to move with your breath. So your breath is the constant. The movement adapts to the breath. This is a great place to practice. One more. And on your next inhale, bring your spine to neutral. Super quick wrist warm up. Turn your fingers out to the sides and turn your fingers back to face you, if that's okay for you. You can take your hips back. You can stay static. You decide for yourself. I sometimes like to circle my hips. And in this wrist warm-up too, find sort of the position that you think, okay, I feel it, but it's absolutely great. It feels good. So that you identify your edges, you slowly approach your edges, be it stretch or be it strength or emotional or mental edges, but you respect your boundaries. Turn the fingertips to face forward again. Bring your big toes to touch. Child's pose. Child's pose can be done with your knees wide, like I have mine, but it could also be done with your knees closer or together. It's your decision. I would say experiment with both and then decide. If your forehead doesn't make the floor, rest it on a brick or a cushion. By keeping your arms extended forward with your elbows on or off the floor, this is called an extended child's pose. And you can deepen it by lifting onto your fingertips. You could also bring your arms alongside you or bring your hands to clasp behind your back. These are just different ways to do child's pose, and you can turn your head to the side. And if you've turned it to the side, now turn it to the other side so that we do the same with both. It's all about taking the poses slowly and deliberately and finding your pose within the general pose. From your child's pose, inhale onto all fours. We're moving into downward facing dog, a very common pose in a lot of yoga traditions. So downward dog, tuck your toes. Now remember what we said about active hands. You have to activate your hands here. Super big deal. Super strong active hands. Relax the head and lift your hips up for downward dog. If you take a look at my body, you'll see that downward dog looks like a V, a letter V shape. If your hamstrings, that's the back of your thighs or your calves or your back maybe are a bit restricted, you find that you might look a bit like a U. It's like this rounded thing, like this might be your down dog. Not great. If that's the case, take your bricks. Now it can't be cushions, it has to be something solid. Bricks. And I know some people that use, just be careful if you do, actual bricks. It's fine, like construction bricks, whatever is solid and about this height. And you can place your hands on bricks and that will enable you to move towards the V. Bending your knees is hard work, but might also enable you to come to that V so that your hips are the highest point. If your wrists don't like any of this, please get in touch with us via email or online, and I can answer any of the questions you have, or leave a comment on the Instagram feed. But for now, this is downward dog. A lot of people say pedal the feet in down dog. This is what pedaling the feet looks like, bending one knee, bending the other knee. And depending on the mobility of your legs and the shape of your bones, especially in the ankle. You might bring your heels to touch. You might bring your heels not to touch. Both are fine. You have to adapt the pose to you. Now soften your knees, engage your abdomen, look forward and walk your feet slowly forward. Come to a position called ragdoll. Traditionally, your feet are about hip width and parallel in ragdoll, but a lot of people like them wider. Wider is fine. And soften your knees or bend your knees. It's up to you to decide which one works best. Traditionally, grab your opposite elbows in ragdoll, but really, I like to flop my hands down and let my head hang. Everyone let your head hang. Check the weight across your feet is not collapsing into the heels, so you might need to move the hips forward. Avoid gripping with your toes and find a place that you're feeling like a stretch is happening, but you're comfortable. And you can rock your body side to side a little bit. And come back to middle. There are generally two ways that teachers will now tell you to stand up. Rolling up is absolutely fine. If your arms are hanging, extra weight on your back, just keep that in mind. But you have to use your abdomen to roll up. You just can't get the spine to do the work. If your back is feeling a bit tender, bend the knees loads, hands on legs or hips, and you come up with a long spine. If you're rolling, follow with me. Zip the abdomen super strong and roll up from the strength of your abdomen. And come to stand. We're coming into a pose called mountain pose. I'm going to face you, but you face the side. Mountain pose is Tadasana in Sanskrit, and it's the mother of all standing poses. Have your feet hip width together, anything in between. It's for you to decide without forcing. Lift all 10 toes, open them up, and bring your toes onto the floor. Shift the weight back and forward, side to side, until you find that the weight is distributed equally across your feet. We'll engage the leg muscles by gently lifting the inner ankle bones. You'll feel the lower legs engage. Stretch the back of the knees. Engage the inner thighs and the glutes without clenching. Now this bit is important. I'm going to face the side for you to see me. A lot of us tend to stand like this. I'm going to ask you to not tuck your pelvis, but lift your belly button to the back of your chest so your spine is neutral. Your shoulders are stacked above your hips and your front ribs are kind of facing forward, tucked in, rather than sticking out. Crown of the head stretches up. And ever so gently, imagine pressing your throat back into the spine so that you lengthen the upper back. Gently open the hands and your palms can face forward or in or anything in between. Again, it's up to you and the shape of your shoulders. This is Tadasana mountain pose. Okay, we're going to start the sun salutations and we're going to break these down a little bit, but we're going to keep moving, don't you worry. Okay, so I'm just going to face the other way for Tadasana. Turn your palms to face out. If you have the space, why not bring your arms up overhead, sideways. Inhale, bring your arms up. Now your palms could be separate or your palms could be together. If your palms are together, and they probably in front of your face, so you're not arching your back, neutral spine, push the palms towards each other so that you can get the shoulders and the back to work. Whichever one suits you. Soften your knees, zip the belly, exhale. This is Uttanasana, forward fold. Relax your head. Bend the knees enough to bring your at least fingertips on the floor. And if you have bricks and they help you, it's like you're bringing the floor closer. Use the bricks. Nothing wrong with using bricks, quite the opposite. This is a forward fold Uttanasana. Distribute the weight equally across your feet. Now bring your hands to the shins, sides of the shins, slightly below the knees. Inhale, lift halfway. Ardha Uttanasana. A lot of people do this on their fingertips, no problem. I like to do this with hands on shins. So you lift your spine to parallel, you make it work, you make it strengthen. Plant the hands, remember active hands, plant them down, lift your right leg and lunge it back. This is known as either a low lunge or a runner's lunge, depends on the teacher. Press down with your hands, inhale, lift your left foot and step back to plank. Now we're going to be here for about half a minute. You're welcome to bring one knee or both knees to the floor. Instead of over-doming your upper back in plank, Neutralize your spine. Remember Tadasana, the standing mountain pose? Same thing, only you're facing the floor and your arms are in a different position. So squeeze a space between the shoulder blades, grip the floor with your fingers, broaden your collarbone and zip the abdomen. Please avoid this. This is a sinking plank, nothing going on. Rather, you bring your knees to the floor. This is regular plank pose, great strengthening pose if you can support your body. Now all of you, exhale the knees to the floor. Untuck your toes with a strong abdomen and slowly lower down onto the floor. Keep your hands there, keep the elbows bent. Inhale, chest forward. This is Cobra Pose, Bhujangasana. Some people call it baby cobra, it's just Cobra Pose. Exhale, tuck your toes. Press your seat back to the feet. Remember this transition, downward facing dog. Now there are different ways to bring your feet back between your hands. I'm going to show you all three ways. The first one is to lift your right leg or not lift it high at all and step your foot between your hands. Now I know that some of you have trouble and kind of the foot goes as far to here and then it doesn't go any further. So lift the leg in the air, use momentum, and then you can use your right hand and help the foot forward. Or if it doesn't go any further, lower your left knee, step the right foot forward, and then come to runner's lunge. Another way is to walk or run your feet between your hands. And another way is to bend the knees and hop your feet between your hands. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, stand up, raise your arms up, and exhale, bring your arms down to your side. That was a sun salutation A, Surya Namaskar A. Now we're going to do a sun salutation B, Surya Namaskar B. Inhale, bend the knees and raise your arms. Your arms as before could be together, apart. This is Surya Namaskar B, and this is chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold, head down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Now we're going to step back, left leg. Inhale, right leg, step back. We're going to hold a plank again for about 30 seconds. You could bring your other knee to the floor or both. It is always up to you. Now remember that before we did lower down and then we did cobra and upward, downward dog. That is one way of doing this transition. Then this transition from plank into a cobra or up dog and down dog is called a vinyasa. Or you could avoid coming down and you can stay in plank and then go to downward facing dog. Or you can do what we call a yogi push-up, chaturanga. If you're new to doing chaturanga, there are a couple of things you must remember. Keep your shoulders away from your ears, and please avoid collapsing your chest lower than your elbows so that you can support your own body in this pose. If you're new and you want to try it, maybe do it with your knees to the floor. I'm going to show you both ways. So plank, chaturangas with knees to the floor. Rock forward, bend the elbows straight back. Now can you see that I'm not collapsing? Can you see that my shoulders are well away from my ears and my elbows are bending straight back, not out and not squeezing in either? This is chaturanga on knees. Now come back to plank and maybe try this without your knees. Point the feet and rock forward. Bend the elbows straight back. This is regular chaturanga. Now look at the transition. Feet flat, chest forward and chest up. This is upward facing dog. Get your shoulders towards the floor and away from your ears. Really big deal. Chest forward, chest up. Super strong legs. Press your hands and feet on the floor really, really hard. Exhale, tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. So this is different ways to do the transitions. Now we're going to work into warrior one because sun salutation B has a warrior one in it. We're going to do it by lifting leg up. Step the foot between your hands. Now stay like this and runner's lunge. Your back foot, move it, 10 centimeters forward and 10 centimeters to the left. Turn it to an angle so the back big toe is pointing to the front left corner of your mat. If your heel doesn't touch, maybe have all 10 toes facing forward. And don't worry if your heel doesn't touch. It will eventually. If your foot's down, lift the inner ankle bone. Please avoid what I'm doing now, which is twisting to the inner foot. It is not great for your joints. Take your right hip back and keep the front leg about 90 degrees. Zip the abdomen, reach forward and reach up. This is warrior one. Now, some of you will be able to have your hips facing forward. Some of you won't. no problem. The back foot is a really big deal. Whatever you do with your feet has an effect on the rest of the body. So notice that my back foot, I'm not twisting into the arch. Zip the abdomen, your arms as usual, palms together, apart, reach the arms up, look up. Exhale, bring your hands to the floor, runner's lunge. Inhale to plank. Here comes a vinyasa. So your first option, remember, I'm going to do it to show you, was knees down, lower down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, inhale, lift your left leg up. Step your left foot between your hand. Now your back foot, move it a little bit forward. Sorry, I'm just having some mic issues. There we go. And move your back foot a little bit to the right. Turn it at an angle so the big toe points to the front right corner. And again, if your heel's not touching, you might turn the toes to face forward. Take your left hip back, zip the belly, inhale, reach forward and up. This is warrior one on your other side. Exhale, hands to floor to runner's lunge. Take your left foot back into plank. And now I'm going to show you the other transition, right, which was chaturanga. Point the feet, rock forward. Bend the elbows. Inhale, upward facing dog, squeeze the outer ankles. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward. You can step, hop, or run your feet between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, bend the knees, raise your arms to chair. Exhale, stand up, arms down. Tadasana. And those are the sun salutations. Inhale, bend the knees, raise your arms up, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, lunge the right leg back. Inhale, lunge the left leg back. You're in plank pose. You choose how. See you in down dog. I'm going to decide to hold plank. I do this often. And take downward dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, step your foot between your hands. Bring your back foot forward, slightly out. Turn the big toe pointed to the front left corner. Rise up to warrior one. Now we're going to open up into warrior two. We're going to start with the feet. So open your back foot so it's slightly turned in. Open the hip. Open your arms to the side. This is warrior two. Aiming to get the bottom of the right thigh parallel but without collapsing. Without forcing. Take your left hip forward and the right knee back. Squeeze up the inner thigh, zip the belly. Stretch the arms in opposite directions and look beyond the middle finger of your front arm. Inhale, slowly extend your front leg. Engage your thigh. That means lift your kneecap or micro bend your knee for triangle pose. Reach forward, reach down. Right hand can go on the leg or in front of the leg or on a brick. Look up and stretch your arms in opposite directions. Don't worry about going low. Worry about having a nice open waist and stretching your left arm up. Exhale, look down, bend the front knee. Inhale, come up. Warrior two. Windmill the hands into runner's lunge. Inhale into plank and take a vinyasa of your choice. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Step your foot between your hands. Bring your back right foot a little bit forward, a little bit to the right. Turn it. Bend your left knee. Squeeze your inner thighs. Rise up. Warrior one. I'm just going to change direction so I face you. So your left leg is forward into warrior one. And if your hips don't face forward, that's okay. It's the shape of your bones. Now open your back foot, hips and arms to the sides. Warrior two. So your back foot, look at mine, it's no longer at an angle. It's either parallel or ever so slightly turned in. Tailbone down, zip the belly. My hips are now facing kind of sideways. Take your right hip forward, left knee back so that your front knee is not twisting in. Stretch the arms in opposite directions. Drishti, that is a Sanskrit word for gaze. Beyond the middle finger of your front left hand. Inhale, extend your front leg. Now either engage your thigh, boom, lift your kneecap or micro bend your knee. Exhale, reach forward and down. Bring your left hand down, bring your right arm up and maybe look up. Or look forward if your neck doesn't like you looking up. Please avoid collapsing. Reach up, look up and stretch up. Exhale, look down, bend the front knee. Inhale, come on up. Warrior two, in and out by nose. Windmill the hands into runner's lunge. Inhale, plank. And either take a vinyasa or lower the knees and rest for a moment. A lot of teachers will suggest for you to rest in child's pose. I love resting in child's pose. But if it's no good for you, you can rest seated, kneeling, you decide. All right, bend the knees, look forward, step, hop, or walk your feet between your hands. Lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold, plant your hands, step your left foot back. Inhale, plank, usual stuff. Take your vinyasas. I'll see you in downward dog. I keep changing it around. If I do too many push-ups, my shoulders get tired. Inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, step your foot between your hands. Now, keep your back heel lifted. Move your right foot to the right. A little bit. Squeeze inner thighs. Rise up. This is high lunge. So the difference between warrior one and high lunge, your feet are further apart a little, and your back heel is lifted. Stretch the arms. Now we're going to move into something called warrior three. Bring your arms alongside you. Keep the hands here. Bring them into prayer. Hard work is to bring them forward. It's your decision what you do with your arms, unless a teacher tells you something different. Point the back foot, lean forward. Now you might need to step your back foot a little bit closer. You might not. Inhale, lift your back foot. This is warrior three. Eventually, your body's going to be parallel to the floor. But if you're all flimsy, there's no point. So you might be diagonal, like I am doing now, but you're straight. The strong and straight is what we're looking for. And then eventually you'll hinge at the hip and be parallel. Bend the front knee, inhale, come back to high lunge. Exhale, bring your hands down. Inhale, plank, no vinyasas. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, step your foot between your hands. Move your foot to the left. Squeeze the inner thighs. Rise up to high lunge. Your palms can be together, that thing, or apart. It's up to you. If you notice that your pelvis is being dragged back because of tightness in the hip, bend the back knee. Send the tailbone straight down, zip the belly, and work on extending the back leg when you're ready to. Bring your arms alongside you, or whatever you've decided to do, lean forward. You can slide your back foot in, step it in, or inhale, lift it. Warrior three. So same thing. Work on having your body straight. Imagine that someone is pulling your hair forward and you have to flex your back foot and kick your heel back into someone's stomach. So your body is really stretching in opposite directions. 3 more seconds. Bend the front knee as gracefully as you can. Inhale, it takes practice. High lunge. Exhale, hands to floor. Inhale, plank. Exhale, downward dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step, hop, or walk feet. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, bend the knees, raise your arms, and stand tall. Exhale, arms down, Tadasana. We're going to transition to the floor, heels in, toes out. This is one of my favorite things to do. It gets the calves to wake up. Lift onto your tippy toes. Palms together to chest. Stretch up. Bend the knees out, and scooch all the way down. Now, squats, very common pose in yoga. Depending on how your bones are built, you might be able to open your feet just a little bit narrower than your mat. And look at my feet. My heels are down, my inner arches are not collapsing, and my toes are slightly turned out to the side. Others, the only way to get your heels down will be to kind of have your toes facing the side and twisting your knee in. Not a great place for the knees or the feet. So in that case, turn the toes to face forward. Let the heels lift and do a squat with lifted heels, or take a solid lower brick or whatever height works for you and slide it under your heels. And you might want to get 1 brick for each heel. I only have 1 here, so I've made do. Or if you're like, I'm tired now, take a brick and sit on it. This is sometimes a nice, different way to do a squat. Elbows press into knees, absolutely, but knees press into elbows. Stretch up. This is a yogi squat. Balasana. Breathe. Come to sit down, so remove the bricks. And we're ending with a forward fold and a twist. And we this forward fold is called Paschimottanasana, or seated forward fold. Now, you have to, there's no negotiation going on here. You have to sit up straight. If your body is not allowing you to, bend the knees to sit up straight, or take one of these and sit on a pillow, cushion, or block. Flex your feet, bring your hands next to you, straight spine, hinge at the hips, exhale, fold. Take your big toes or take your outer feet and fold into Paschimottanasana. Keep your spine long. We're not going to hold this for long because we're running out of time, but it's just to show you how you hinge at the hips and you're not rounding like this. Engage your abdomen, inhale, come on up. Look at where your knees were. Bend your knees and place your heels where your knees were. Wrap your left arm around your legs and bring your right hand behind you. Inhale, stretch up. Turn your body to the right, twist. Now, when you do any twist, think of having a long spine, so not this kind of collapsed position. If you're sat on a brick, you might stay on it. Stretch, look right, and twist. Inhale, face forward, swap the arm. Push down with your left hand behind you, stretch up, turn over the left shoulder and twist. When you are twisting, move your eyes all the way to the left in this case, so that the muscles in your eyes, there's lots of them and they're busy muscles, can also twist to the side. Inhale, face forward. Come to find that seated position that you started with. Close your eyes if you'd like. And if closing your eyes is not okay, lower them to the floor. Sit up straight. Rest your hands anywhere you'd like to rest them. Breathe in by nose. Breathe out by mouth. Revisit your intention. Revisit the awareness and the kindness with which you practice. One of the principles of yoga is that we work on treating ourselves with respect and kindness, but we extend that respect and kindness to every creature on earth, bearing in mind that they are here with us and not for us. Thank you so much for joining me in this class. I look forward to teaching you next week. We will cover some other poses that we often do in yoga class, and I hope to see you then. If you have questions, please send them through. Until then, namaste.